So having watched that trailer, and being a huge Gears of War fan, that honestly brought a tear to my eye. Honestly, I wanted to make a video on the showcase itself because the Xbox Game Showcase this year was incredible. We had loads of cool announcements, loads of new games coming, lots of things to be excited for. But the one thing that I'm really looking forward to in particular is Gears of War ED. I haven't kind of had goosebumps like that watching a trailer for a game in a good couple of years, just because obviously how jaded I am now towards the gaming industry, how I know I can't get my hopes up stupidly high because oftentimes the trailer is very, very different to the final thing that we receive in the end product. And it wouldn't be the first time that I've gotten excited for a game and then I've gotten it when it comes out, and then what I was expecting versus what I got is very jarring. But Gears of War ED, interesting change of direction for the franchise. Obviously, the last Gears of War game that we had was Gears Tactics, and then the last kind of mainline standard game that we had was obviously Gears 5 back in 2019. Still haven't 100%ed that, still haven't 100%ed 4, 3, 2, or even the original, because there's just so much to do. Haven't played Gears Tactics myself personally. It looks like an interesting story, but it's not my cup of tea gameplay-wise, because it's more of a strategic game. I prefer the kind of standard cover shooter that Gears of War is known for. Now, when this trailer dropped in the showcase, there was a few concerns that the developers were kind of abandoning the current story of Gears. A lot of people have kind of been divided on the Gears kind of 4/5 story. Obviously, for those of you that know, in Gears of War 4 we played as JD, like the prodigal son of Marcus Phoenix, and then in Gears 5, the protagonist obviously switched over to Kate Diaz. A lot of people who, some like her, some don't. Personally, I'm not that keen on the new cast of characters at all. I don't really like Kate, I don't really like JD, I don't really like Dell. They just don't really do it for me, and I've played a lot of hours of Gears 4 and 5. I just don't really think they stack up to the original cast of characters. Even in Gears 5, where they've gone through hardships, JD loses his arm, they lose an entire city to the Swarm essentially, and they start to finally seem to grasp what it was like for Marcus and his team back through the Locust War. They are still far too almost jovial for me. Gears of War is not essentially meant to be a happy game as depicted in this trailer. The Locust are monsters. They are the monster under the bed. They are the nightmare that you try not to think about. They are unknown. They are mysterious. They are dangerous. And obviously the Swarm are a variant of them, as is confirmed in the new games. It's essentially the Locust back with a different name, essentially. But they never seem to take it very seriously. The new characters are just very jovial, so I'm really kind of excited that we're getting to go back to E-Day, which is the day that this all kicked off 14 years before the original Gears of War. And I'm hoping that we're going to return to that kind of dark, gritty, almost horror-esque type of game. And what's going to be really interesting is obviously we know Marcus Phoenix as this big, badass kind of mainline hero protagonist of Gears of War, takes no shit, obviously just gets the job done. He's never seen these things before. As you can see in the trailer, he is fighting a Locust drone. Anyone that's played Gears of War will tell you that the Locust drone is cannon fodder, essentially, is one of the easiest enemies you will ever deal with in the series, other than things like wretches that are even drones. But in terms of Locust, they are the bottom tier. They are like the easiest thing to fight in the game. And when I was reading up on the Gears of War E-Day trailer before making this video, I came across an interesting article on Xbox's website, where they spoke to the team a little bit about the trailer and what they were looking to kind of capture when they made it. So I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to go read it yourself. So I will paraphrase a little bit because I don't remember it all word for word, but essentially they said that they needed to go back. They needed to completely recreate the locust drone from the ground up, because you have to remember, this is 14 years before Gears of War 1. This is when these monsters came up out of the ground for the first time. They don't know what they are. They don't know how to fight them. And essentially they just started tearing down cities left, right, and centre. So Marcus is not a badass soldier with 14 years under his belt of fighting locust monsters. He's just come out of the Pendulum Wars fighting people, to coming back to a peaceful life, to then being ripped straight back into the cold reality that there's another war that's about to kick off immediately with a threat that no one has ever seen or dealt with before, ever. So they recreated the drone from the ground up. They made it this big. I mean, you've seen in the trailer, it literally lifts Marcus up into the ceiling. Not something that would happen in any of the other mainline Gears titles, because a locust drone wouldn't be seen as that threatening, that strong. Yet in this trailer, a simple drone has lifted up the main protagonist and hero that we know and love, and has nearly killed him throughout the trailer. Like, has nearly bested him multiple times. Obviously, one of the downsides of Gears of War ED is that we are obviously going to be aware that Marcus and Dom obviously can't die, because canonically that would be impossible. So they will have some form of plot armor, which, if dealt with correctly, story-wise, would work fine. Obviously, we as players know that they physically cannot kill them off. They just cannot do that. So hopefully they deal with it in a good way. They don't try and pull too many kind of near-death experiences in the game to try and make us think that they're going to die, because obviously at the back of our minds we're going to be very aware that they just can't do that, because it would obviously break the canon of, well, every other Gears game. But yeah, they recreated the locust drone, and then obviously when the locust emergence hole opens up, it's red. Usually in the games they actually glow this green emulsion colour, but in this trailer they've decided to go with red, almost as if it's kind of to signify that it's literally hell, essentially, because these things have never been seen before. Now they've just come up out of the ground out of nowhere, and I'm just tearing down the city around them. But the locust drone design looks incredible. I loved the grittiness of the trailer, how Marcus had to almost just become opportunistic in his way of fighting. He's trying to use his Lancer. He's very quickly realising that that's not working. He uses a TV to stun the drone, and then obviously detaches the bayonet on the Lancer to get it off the drone, to then obviously give the killing blow by getting a headshot. Obviously that's a potential another kind of downside. 14 years before the original Gears of War, we are not going to get chainsaw lancers in this game. I would be very, very surprised if they decided to do that, because lore-wise, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. I don't know exactly when in the war the chainsaw was introduced to the lancers, but I know for a fact that at the start of the war, it wouldn't be, because they would still be using the retro lancers as we know them, with the bayonets. So it looks like that's going to be our standard in this game. Hopefully, we will get some new weapons, as this is 14 years before. It would be kind of nice to see some weapons that kind of were used in that period, and then obviously then when we get to Gears of War 1 they stop using them, whether because of ineffectiveness or something else. So hopefully the Markser will return, the UIR rifle that was semi-automatic that kind of rivaled the Lancer of the COG, and hopefully we'll get some new weapons as well. Also the Mad World motif towards the end of the trailer, that's been slightly altered, was a really nice kind of throwback to the original Gears of War trailer, because obviously Mad World was the song that they used. Obviously Mad World was the song that they used when Dom died in Gears of War 3 as well. So it's like heavily attached to this series from a game standpoint. So to use that again in the trailer, for the first trailer, and the marketing is really, really clever. I think it works really, really well. It really captures that kind of hopelessness, that's kind of dread, that they don't know what they're dealing with. And obviously then there's the big kicker right towards the end of the trailer where Marcus is about to fall, and of course someone grabs him and pulls him up, and lo and behold, it is everyone's favourite Dominic Santiago, which at that point I nearly started crying. Obviously everyone knows that Dom sacrifices himself in Gears of War 3. Obviously, even in the newer games, obviously we get to see Cole, we get to see Baird, we get to see everyone, but we knew we were never going to see Dom again. And that's heartbreaking because he's such a beloved character. You know, the bond that him and Marcus share is incredible. So the fact that we're going back to E-Day and we are going to get another game where we get to see Dom again, it is going to be really kind of almost sweet, I imagine, because we love this character. And, his sacrifice was heart-wrenching. It's one of the most heartbreaking moments in the Gears of War franchise. And for them to bring him back, because obviously this is a prequel, I think a lot of people are happy about that, because Dom is just such a beloved character. And it'll be really interesting to see how him and Marcus kind of bond and became friends throughout the war. Because as I've read on that article from Xbox, which again, I will link that in the description, it states that a bit of background between the two of them is that Marcus fought with Carlos, which was Dom's older brother, during the Pendulum Wars, and Carlos lost his life on the battlefield with Marcus. So they are kind of connecting now, where Marcus has lost a really close friend, and obviously Dom has lost his older brother, so that's how their bond has kind of started, because they're trying to kind of get through that loss together, and obviously all of a sudden now they've been thrust into another war with an enemy that they've never dealt with before. And obviously then towards the end of the trailer then, we've got that big pan out where we can see the city, you can see the red signifying that there are emergence halls opening up all over the place, you've got the King Raven gunships flying in, and you've got that nice shot then with Marcus and Dom kind of stuck right bang smack in the middle of the shot, almost to signify that they've been thrust back into the midst of it. They are the centre stage, and they are the main kind of duo protagonists that we will have on this adventure through Gears of War E-Day. The trailer was incredible. There are obviously a couple of downsides to going the prequel route. Obviously, there are going to be certain weapons we won't be able to access. Cole and Baird, I would be very, very surprised if they made an appearance in this game. Because Marcus and Dom did not meet them until Gears of War 1. Now, they could do some form of Easter egg, and that would be fine. I just think they can't have them meet, because they didn't know each other until Gears 1. So if they were to meet in this game, it would kind of fragment that canon, because they've never met until Gears of War 1, 14 years afterwards. So, sure, maybe have an Easter egg where they're on the radio or something, and they don't know who they are or something like that, but they can't physically meet because it would just really kind of break the canon. So if I had to imagine how the game's going to go, this is just me spitballing ideas now at this point, it might be one of two things. It'll either be a 2-player co-op campaign, Marcus and Dom, or it'll be a 4-player co-op campaign and we're going to have a new squad that we're going to be a part of with 2 new characters that we've never seen before that will more than likely die off at some point, because otherwise they would have been present in Gears 1, 2, 3. Obviously, I doubt there'll be any Carmines, because obviously Anthony was in Gears 1, then we had Benjamin, so I don't think there'll be any Carmines. I don't think there would be anyway. There might be, but as far as my understanding of the lore goes, I don't think they could have them appear, so I don't think that would be a thing. We might get to see Min again, potentially. He was in Gears 1. Obviously, he died in Gears 1. There may be potential that we'll see him. Some other returning characters I imagine we might see would be Hoffman, potentially Anya, maybe. Obviously, Cole and Baird maybe is an Easter egg. I don't think we'll see Ty. I don't think we'll see Dizzy either, because he wasn't introduced till Gears 2, and neither was Ty. Who else? Don't think we'll see any of the Carmines, because that wouldn't make a lot of sense. And then maybe we'll see Chairman Prescott, but again, he wasn't really introduced properly until Gears of War 2. They might mention him in passing, but I don't know if they'll actually put him in the game. As for what the story might be, I have no idea. They have said that they're going for an almost kind of horror kind of esque vibe. because obviously this is the first time they've seen these monsters, and again they completely like reshaped how the locust drone looked, and completely just changed how we view the locust drone. Instead of this cannon fodder enemy, it's now this actual threat again. So I don't really know what the story could be. Usually Gears of War stories end with like this culmination of either a big bad guy or some big event. So Gears of War 1, obviously we raced on that train and we set off the light mass bomb. Gears of War 2, then we obviously fought Scourge, and then we got to the end and you had to pilot the Brumac, and then you had to kill it. Gears of War 3 was obviously Mira. Gears of War 4 then was obviously the big kind of hive mind thingamabob that we had to fight in the big mechs. Gears of War 5 then was that kind of last stand. I don't really remember that one because I've only played it once. And then obviously Gears Judgment then as well was that big boss fight against that Locust commander whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. So they all kind of end with either some kind of big event / a boss fight / a mix. So if I had to imagine, they might use that formula again, where we've got like 5 acts of a campaign with multiple chapters. You go through them, there's some kind of big commander dude or something, and then obviously then you will deal with him and or her, and then finish the game, I guess. I really don't know what route they could go, because obviously they can't have any of the big bads that we know. They can't have Rom, they can't have Scourge, they can't have Mira, because at this point they wouldn't be known to them. So it might have to be someone completely new. Now, I do know that there's someone that came before General Rom, and I can't remember his name, and I don't know if it's already confirmed what happens to him, because there are Gears of War comics. It could be him. I don't know his name. It could be him, but I'm not that deep into like the extended lore of like the comics. I don't read them. But I'm not sure if he gets killed off in the comics, so it could just be someone completely new that we've never heard of before. Which, if they want to do that, I don't see the issue. It's 14 years before the original game. There's plenty of lore that they can use and make if they want. But overall, the trailer for me signifies a return to the roots. It is what Gears of War should be. They've even called it Gears of War instead of Gears, because they swapped the name to, like, it was Gears of War 4, then we just had Gears 5, then we had Gears Tactics, just because it rolled off the tongue better. But for this, they've actually returned to Gears of War E-Day, which, again, just kind of signifies a return to the roots for the franchise, which is what it should be. I feel like Gears, in the last, like, 5-ish years or so with the new games, has kind of forgotten what the franchise is meant to be about, and what it's supposed to capture. You know, it's a game about brotherhood, you know, survival. You know, you're up against this enemy that you've never faced before, and all you've got are those around you, and it is really a tale of brotherhood between Marks and Dom, essentially. Obviously that changed after Gears of War 3, but obviously even the moniker for Gears 3 was Brothers Till the End, and that was the kind of the slogan that they had. You know, this game has even been given the stamp of approval by Cliff Bleszinski, who, if you don't somehow know, is the father of Gears of War. Essentially, that was his baby until he left Epic Games afterwards. So he is even given this his stamp of approval. Like, even he is happy with how this looks. And of course, then the other bonus is that this is all in-engine. This is all done in Unreal Engine 5. This is in-engine footage of the engines that they're going to be using to create the game, which is incredible, because it's going to effectively look like that when we play it, which is incredible. Obviously, no news on the release date. Now, if it has been announced this early in the year, we might get lucky. We might get it in the later period of the year, so maybe the autumn, winter time. Maybe the Christmas period. That would be a good time to drop it, especially with this kind of nostalgic return. You know, it would probably do really, really well. In terms of other modes, multiplayer will probably return as normal, hopefully with a co-op versus AI option for those of us that don't want to deal with sweats, because I quite enjoy just casually playing against AI every now and again, and it's nice to be able to progress the multiplayer that way. Hopefully Horde will return, and if we're really, really lucky, I'm crossing my fingers, we might get the Beast mode back, where you get to play as the Locust. That would be incredible. If they did that, they would be showered with praise, because it only appeared in Gears of War 3, and it was a really fun mode, and it's never been seen since. We've never had it again. So if they wanted to bring that back as a surprise, that would be incredible. Now, obviously, I am excited for Gears E-Day. As I said, I haven't had goosebumps watching a trailer like that for a long time, and seeing Dom nearly brought a tear to my eye. I'm trying to edge on the verge of caution, just to kind of not hype myself up too much, and then it comes out and then it's not what I was expecting. From what we've seen, obviously it is just a 2-minute trailer, that's it, we have to keep that in mind, but from what we have seen, it looks really, really good. It looks like they've returned to the roots of the franchise, to what we know and love. It's going to be a completely new story that hasn't been told before, with characters that we know and love, and we're going to get to see this evolution of how Marcus and Dom navigated essentially the start of the Locust War. And hopefully it's done right. You know, I'm trying to be cautious about it. I'm excited, but cautiously excited. So I will wait for it to come out. Hopefully in the next couple of months we'll get some news on a release date or something like that. And hopefully it'll be this year. And then it'll be an Xbox game, so it'll be Game Pass day one, which will be really good because it means I can try it out straight away. And then hopefully then in a few months' time, if it does come out this year, I can hopefully play it on Game Pass, make a video on it, and hopefully confirm that it was everything that we wanted it to be. Hopefully. But we'll have to wait and see. But let me know what you guys thought. I've always been a fan of Gears of War. Gears of War 2 was one of the first games I ever played on Xbox, and then I went back and played the other ones. Like 1, and then obviously went through to 3, 4, etc. But let me know what you guys thought of the trailer. If you're excited, if you think it looks good. I think it looks incredible. If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like. I am back. I will make a video on that later on in a couple of weeks, explaining where I've kind of been, why I've been absent. I will explain that at some points. But yeah, this is return to form for Gears of War. I'm really, really excited. I hope you guys are as well. And now I guess we just await eagerly for a release date and for more news. So until then, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.